Ladies and gents, boys and girls, happy Monday. This is the Monday Power Hour call-in show. Taking your questions, your comments, and your calls at 803-500-1485. We are a couple minutes behind duty calls when it comes to previewing all these games upcoming in Week 5 of the SEC football season. But again, we are here next hour or so, taking your questions, your comments, your calls, everything. I want to hear from you. Full reactions to what took place in Week 4 of the SEC football season. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you, whether you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. We want to hear from you. We'll take your comments. You can also, again, text the number over at 803-500-1485. You can call that number as well here in just a moment. I see Eric in the chat, Eric Walls. Good morning, sir. I see my guy Matt Beard. Is LSU just gritty? Maybe so, if you want to call it that. Jake B is in the comments. OU's not too shabby. We can talk about that game, of course. Oklahoma's SEC debut against the Tennessee Volunteers. There's a lot to dive into from that matchup. Obviously, of course, guys, we were in town to Auburn, Alabama over the weekend to watch Auburn and Arkansas do battle. So, lots to discuss. And again, I want to say thank you, by the way, to the folks in Auburn, Alabama. We had a fantastic time. I mean, it was a great time. Really thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. The folks of Auburn were incredible. You know, something that stood out, guys. I mean, this is every single SEC city. Don't get me wrong, but Auburn folks love Auburn. Like, you can really tell they love Auburn. They love the city of Auburn. You know, it was really cool too, guys. And again, going to the different venues and the cities and everything. I mean, it's great that we get to see all the teams and the games, but the people are really what make the difference. And so, you know, the fact that the different people we get to interact with and chat with and conversate with and meet from both sides, right? Auburn and Arkansas folks were great on Saturday. Really, really happy we got to hang with them. And guys, in case you somehow missed it, we are headed this weekend to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to watch the Alabama Crimson Tide take on the Georgia Bulldogs, arguably the game of the year in the SEC, and SEC Unfiltered will be in attendance. And even our game preview for that has already dropped this morning. Make sure you check that out. Guys, phone lines are now open, 803-500-1485. That's 803-500-1485. We are taking your questions, your comments, your calls. You're more than welcome to call in. You can also text that number as well, 803-500-1485. I see Xavier Myers in the comments. Let's go. Kedrick Washington says, go Tigers. Matt Beard, is this surprising from a Hugh Freeze team? For what Hugh Freeze, Matt, is supposed to be, I would say so. You know, I look at it this way. You're an Auburn fan. Are you waking up here on this Monday, fire Hugh Freeze? No, I don't think so. I think that's too aggressive. But you do have to admit you are off schedule. You're not on schedule, right? Like, this is not what you expected to see at this point in Hugh Freeze's tenure. It's just not. And I will never, ever, for the life of me, understand why Hugh Freeze hitched his wagon to Peyton Thorne. I'll never get it. I will never, ever, ever get it. So it feels somewhat almost self-inflicted. I never understood the conversation of, well, you know, they're more than a quarterback away from winning a national title. I mean, sure, but you're not more than a quarterback away from going 8-4 or 9-3, which is what you needed to do. So you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Putting your faith and trust in Peyton Thorne was a stupid game you played, and you're getting a stupid prize, which is losing football games. I mean, it's just, I'm not surprised at all to what we're seeing. Eric says, the Mizzou man, I can honestly say my heart is finally better. LOL. Yeah, that was I don't think anybody at MIZ saw that one being as close. I did take Vandy plus 21, which, by the way, guys, had a great gambling weekend. We went 5-1 on the weekend. And, of course, my only loss because of my silliness was I picked Auburn. I picked Auburn -3 in that football game. Outside of that, though, 5-1 overall on the weekend. A lot of success. All right, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie Davis, what's going on, man? You're on the air.
The one and only. That's the Zaxby's Hall of Famer. Okay.
The one and only, for sure. What's up, man?
Obviously, we took care of business as expected against Akron, and really can't take much away from it because we beat the crap out of them. But one thing that concerns me about the game in a couple of weeks against Ole Miss is our secondary. I'm not concerned about the linebackers and the defensive line. They got their crap together. But what concerns me is our secondary. Because Old Dominion in week 1 shredded our secondary.
I mean, that's something definitely you're going to get tested. I mean, Ole Miss is they're elite across the board. I mean, I know people hate to hear it too, but, a guy like Juice Wells is balling out for them. Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, Caden Prescorn at tight end. The list just goes on and on of guys they have. So to your point, that'll be a huge battle, in a bit. I'm sure that's something over the bye week that they are going to be focused on and locked in on. But that South Carolina Ole Miss game is going to be a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. And last thing that I'm going to get off of here. I think, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing but respect for Robbie Ashford. Okay. And I get why he started on Saturday, but I was not expecting him to play as well as he played Saturday. I was not expecting him to play as well as he did Saturday because he did not look prepared against LSU. But this time he looked very prepared. I feel like he sits in the pocket too long. He definitely needs to work on that a little bit. Like, you need to have like a clock going off in your head. Like, you got this amount of time. If your main guy is not there and the secondary ain't there, you need to get out of the pocket somehow and get positive yards and hang on to the football.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a positive step for Ashford for sure when you look at the numbers he put up. So it's, you need to get Lenora Sellers healthy, but if you can get Ashford some confidence, if Sellers gets banged up again for South Carolina, having a capable backup's important. So, we'll see. Again, level of competition you have to take into account. But, anytime you can get confidence and build confidence up and, again, you never know when you may need him again. So certainly a good sign for South Carolina. But, Robbie, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, my guy.
That's all I got.
No, yeah, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, my guy. I hope you had a good weekend.
Oh, I did. I had a blast as usual.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, man. You're the man.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right, Robbie. We'll talk to you soon, brother. Take care. Really good stuff from Robbie Davis. Guys, phone line's back open, 803-500-1485. My guys over at Chinook, shout out. They're tuned in. Did you learn about Archer, Texas as a team against ULM? No. I mean, I just feel like in those games, guys, like there's never been, and I know like Texas A&M Bowling Green was a tight game. Don't get me wrong. It happens. But like, I think it's a fool's errand to try to draw conclusions from games like that. I mean, Arch Manning is really good. I know he threw 2 interceptions in the game, but I don't need to see a bunch of tape from ULM to confirm or not that Arch is a really, really good football player. Like he is. You go out there and dominate ULM the way you did. I mean, you expect that from Texas. And I would expect more of the same this weekend against Mississippi State.
But then,
all right, let's jump to the phone lines. What's going on, man? You're on the air.
What's up, Chris? I agree with the caller just before, and I think the Lions still need to get a little better.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and listen, you took care of your business against Akron.
But
I think South Carolina did. But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the challenge is only going to get greater for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually play down to the competition.
Yeah.
But they did, like you said, they handle business. And I think the more the season go along, the better they're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have it, right? Again, the line play that you're going to face is only going to be better. Competition's only going to be stiffer. So,
And like I said last week, about they need to let him throw more. They threw more and it got better. It got comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely did. No, absolutely did. So we'll see if they can carry it over. I mean, again, you've got that bye week, and then Ole Miss comes to town, and you're really going to be tested then. So
that's all. Thanks for taking the call.
awesome. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, man. Calling anytime. Thank you so much. You know what's funny, guys? I'll be totally transparent with you. And anybody's welcome to call in, by the way, 803-500-1485. We got not many of them, but there were a couple comments from last week. And obviously, again, that was the Monday after LSU South Carolina. We had a couple comments of people complaining how much South Carolina, how many South Carolina callers were calling in. So I encourage fans of other teams to call in as well, because I know you guys, have things to say. You guys have opinions, thoughts on the game, stuff like that. And forgive me for my voice, by the way. It was a long weekend in Auburn. We had a good time, yelling at the game and stuff, and just enjoying the weekend that was. And the voice kind of escaped me for something like on Saturday morning started to happen. The voice kind of started to get a little raspy on me and kind of escape me. So we're going to work through it, though. We overcome adversity. Here we go. Let's go to Kalen Dempsey. It says, as an Ole Miss fan, if anyone in our fan base gets mad about getting jumped by Tennessee in the polls, tell them to shut up. Long season and Tennessee has a better resume. Yeah, Caitlin, I'll be transparent. I'm going to drop my SEC power rankings immediately following the call-in show. I slid Tennessee up one. I slid Tennessee up ahead of Ole Miss. Caitlin, it's not because Ole Miss has done anything wrong, and Tennessee didn't jump Ole Miss in the polls because Ole Miss has done anything wrong. You just haven't played anybody. Like, are we not going to reward teams for winning? We've got to reward teams for winning games. Like, you have to reward Tennessee for what they did at Oklahoma and the way they did it. And Ole Miss is going to get their opportunity. They just played nobody. They just played nobody. I mean, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So, Mr. 512. Arch wants to throw bombs all day. Sark needs to tell him to look for his checkdowns. I like our offense with the eye candy and motion that Ewers runs. Yeah, I think as soon as Quinn is healthy, you obviously put him back at QB1. But, Arch is a young player still, man. He's learning as he goes. I think obviously when you're playing a ULM, you probably feel like you can take a couple more shots. And, if a ball is picked, you don't feel like it's going to kill you, right? You don't feel like it's going to kill you in a game like that. I'm sure in a bigger game, you would probably see Arch take care of the football a little bit more, a little bit better. But the way you do anything's the way you do everything. And depending on the opponent, the opponent should not matter. So, to your point, young player, he'll learn that, you don't always take the big shot. You'll never go broke taking a profit is what they'll tell you. So you'll never go broke taking a profit. I don't know. I don't know if the voice is going to make it to end of week. I hope the voice makes it to Tuscaloosa, which is where we'll be this weekend. Anyways, guys, 803-500-1485. Taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. Like I mentioned, we dropped our Georgia-Alabama preview. It's already out there this morning. Really, really good stuff. It's a big deal when all three of the amigos, myself, Dave Shoemate, Cole Thompson, all jumped on that preview. Really, really good stuff. All of us jumped on that preview. Really exciting stuff. Had a blast. If you listen, guys, if you can't get excited for the Bama Georgia game, you need your pulse checked. So, because you could argue it's the game of the year in the SEC. Guys, again, be sure to check out our friends over at Prize Picks, by the way. Official partners, official sponsors of the SEC Unfiltered Tour. Our partners during this football season and beyond. Promo code SECU. Play that first $5 lineup. You'll get a $50 bonus, win or lose, from the friends at Prize Picks. So, again, I want to make sure shout out those guys. They take care of us every single weekend. And, again, they are the ones sending us to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to take in the game of the year, essentially, in the SEC. So, guys, again, 803-500-1485. You can text that number, call that number, whatever you like. Chris Cobb says, Howdy, everyone. Giga Maggies beat the hell out of Arkansas. You know, Chris, we're going to drop our preview for that game a little bit later today. That is such a difficult game, Chris, to pick. That is such a difficult game to pick because it's one of those things where it's like when it's 50-50 coin flip, and I feel like the spread in this game is the same every year. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, which it's at 4.5 right now. But it feels like it's the same every year, right? Where you just expect the unexpected. The game's going to be wacky. It's going to be intense. It's going to come down to the wire. And Chris, if it's like every other year, A&M finds a way to win every single time. They just find a way to win this game. So it's like, you know, I saw Arkansas in person, obviously. There's times where I love what I see from Taylen Green. There's times where I'm terrified what I see from Taylen Green. So what moments do we get more of? Then there's the Marcel Reed dynamic of this. You've got a pair of dynamic, versatile quarterbacks that can get outside the pocket, make plays with their legs. Which defense does a better job of containing the opposing quarterback? That's going to be my big question. That's going to be the big question for me. Which defense does a better job? I mean, you got to think Mike Elko and company are going to make things really, really difficult for Taylen Green, right? They're going to make things really, really difficult for Taylen. So I love Jaquindon Jackson as well, the running back for Arkansas. The guy has the mentality of he's always the hammer, never the nail, right? All that juking and jiving and dancing, you can do all that, but when all else fails, you better be gaining yardage, not losing yardage. Again, you'll never go broke taking a profit. And when you got a guy like Jaquindon Jackson, you take a profit on a lot of plays, play in, play out. We'll see if that's the case yet again, but I tell you, man, without spoiling my prediction, I do lean A&M. It's just A&M finds a way to win this game. It's just they do. And, you know, the final Southwest Classic, which I think is a win, obviously, for the fans, you know, the fact that we're getting this game out of Arlington, Texas. I think A&M probably finds a way again, man. It's, you know, because here's what's interesting with Arkansas. We've seen Arkansas blow a game in Stillwater. We've seen Arkansas clutch up and win a game against Auburn. I mean, some of those third down conversions late in that game, that final drive where, you know, you used physicality and you punched it in. Arkansas clutched up in that game. It's just like, which version are we getting on Saturday? So that's going to be the interesting part for sure. Let's see. Getting into more of your questions. Chinook. Can't wait for the weather to cool down so we can really start enjoying these outdoor TV setups. Full disclosure, just finished mine, and it's been 90 degrees. Yeah, it was a scorcher in Auburn over the weekend. It was a scorcher in Auburn. I think Alabama should be a little bit more tame, and the game is at night, too. And it was at night. So it looks like Chinook's giving me the suggestion, apple cider vinegar will help the voice. Okay, I'll have to get on that. Because the voice has been, I don't know, it just escaped me on Saturday for some reason. So it escaped me on Saturday. Let's see. Again, guys, taking your questions, your comments, your calls, 803-500-1485. Don't be shy. Call in. Give us your thoughts. Give us your predictions. Give us your reactions. It's a victory Monday for some. It is a therapy Monday for others. We had a question or a comment earlier about the Oklahoma-Tennessee game. That game, honestly, guys, went about exactly as I expected. Like, I'm a believer in Tennessee. I'm a believer in Josh Heupel. And if you're not at this point, and I'm not saying Oklahoma is like the best team in the country, but if you're not a believer in Tennessee at this point, I mean, guys, I would all but guarantee Tennessee is going to be in the college football playoff. Like, I had them going 10-2 over the summer, and I had them losing that game. So I think the fact they've won that game now puts them ahead of schedule in my mind. Yes, you still got to play Bama. Yes, you still got to play Georgia, and there's no wiggle room outside of that. But, guys, I think Bama is very winnable. I had Tennessee beating Bama over the summer. That game in Neyland, which we may or may not be there in person. You'll have to wait and see when we get to that point. But I think it's a very winnable game for Tennessee. You know, the schedule sets up pretty well. So, I'm a big believer in Tennessee, but Oklahoma, man, I mean, everybody talked about it all preseason, and Oklahoma folks thought we were haters and like, how dare you? It was blasphemous to pick Oklahoma to go 7-5. But now you're seeing why. You're seeing why that was the pick. You're seeing why that was the pick, right? Offensive line struggles. Quarterback struggles now. That's all of a sudden a thing. It's going to be an up and down year for OU. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Eric Wallace.
What's going on, man? You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Stu?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. So, what do you think? What would your big takeaway about the Missouri Vanderbilt game?
Yeah, it was a heck of a game, man. I thought Vandy could give Mizzou some problems with Diego Pavia. I saw what Castellanos from Boston College did, and big believer in Diego. He can be annoying. Diego Pavia can be sort of annoying for a defense, and I thought they could do just enough of that, create enough of a headache to cover the spread. I took, like I said, Vandy plus 21. I did not know we were going to get an overtime game. Listen, I will say this. We gave Georgia credit for beating Kentucky at their place. And I know Mizzou was at home. But the same way in which I'm not overreacting to Georgia finding a way to win at Lexington, I'm not going to overreact to Missouri finding a way to beat Vanderbilt, who I think a Vanderbilt team that's solid. Like, I think Vandy's going to win a conference game. Like, that to me is – that's going to happen. Whether it's Auburn, it's South Carolina, it's Kentucky, whoever it might be. Vandy's going to get somebody. So I don't think this is like last year's Vandy or like just a horrific Vandy team. That being said, I still do think Mizzou's got some things to clean up defensively, which we expected under Corey Batoon. And then Brady Cook he's been okay. He hasn't been great. And you can be okay against Vandy and win in Boston College, but there's going to come a time where Brady Cook's got to step up and make some big-time plays. Not saying he was bad, but he's just been okay. So, listen, a win is a win is a win in the SEC. I'm sure it's not what the folks in Como expected, but I'm not, hitting the panic button on Mizzou or anything quite yet.
Okay. Yeah. There's definitely things we got to clean up.
Yeah, there's things to clean up, but again, you feel good about the fact you're cleaning those up coming off of a win during your bye week than if you had found a way to lose that game. So, in the SEC, man, there's no such thing as a cheapie. It's a week-to-week league, and anybody can beat anybody. And so finding a way to win that game was huge, obviously, for MIZ.
Yeah. That was a big-time win.
And again, I think Vandy's just a lot better than people realized or thought they were going to be, including me.
Yeah.
I think Vandy is a solid team. I don't know how they lost that game against Georgia State, but Vandy's going to sneak up and get somebody. You got a guy like Diego Pavia. I think the weapons offensively are a little bit better than I thought they would be. When you got a guy like Pavia, it gives you a chance, man. When you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And Vandy's got themselves a guy in their center.
Yeah, and in fact, before the game, I was looking at the stats, and I was telling my dad that the highest Western was for quarterback, and so to kind of be looking for that too. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm curious the adjustments MIZ makes over the bye week, and then you got that big game against Texas A&M, man. I mean, I think that's one that we're going to learn a lot more about the Tigers for sure. Hey, I appreciate the call, my man. Thank you so much. Call in anytime.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Really good stuff, guys. Phone lines are open still, 803-500-1485. And again, I will say this too, and I don't mean this as like people are going to take this as a shot at Mizzou, and I don't mean it that way, but Ole Miss and Missouri both have easy schedules, right? Like, we can admit that. They both have more manageable schedules than anybody else in the conference. The difference is when I look at Ole Miss, I'm like, that is an elite team top to bottom. With Missouri, like, Ole Miss isn't good because their schedule's easy. They're just good because they're good. With Mizzou, they might also go 10-2, but is it going to be more schedule-induced than anything else? Is it going to be more of that than Mizzou is an elite? I don't know. I don't want to overreact to it. I give them a lot of credit for the win over Vandy, but at the same time, the schedule, the competition's only going to pick up. So, but again, I think you got to give credit to Vandy. I just think they're better than people realize. So let's see. Got a text here on the text line. Our friend Robbie Davis chimes back in. Hey, Chris, Robbie Davis. I've got Georgia beating Bama. Side note, pray for my brother. He's in Mexico on a mission trip. Prayer sent, Robbie. Robbie Davis has got Georgia beating Bama. I'm curious you guys' thoughts and predictions on that game. And I'll say this about Georgia, Alabama. Is it a passing of the torch moment? We talked about who is going to benefit most from Nick Saban retiring. And everyone said the same thing. Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't think Bama at home is a bad pick. I really don't. Right? Bryant-Denny Stadium is going to be a madhouse. Tuscaloosa is going to be unhinged. The way Alabama has been playing, you also think about the fact that Georgia's been banged up. Are they going to get a couple guys back? They did not look great against Kentucky, right? Where are they going to find explosive plays? Are they going to be able to slow down Alabama's running game with Justice Haynes and Jam Miller and what Jalen Milroe can do? We saw last year in the SEC title. Different personnel, different coach on Bama's side, but Bama pushed Georgia around a little bit. I go back to this, guys. I go back to this stat, and I mentioned it heading into week 1, and I'm going to mention it again, and I'm going to sound like a broken record in doing so. Georgia, since 2021, when Kirby Smart and the Dogs have more than 7 days to get ready, they have played 11 of those type of contests. Guys, they are 11-0, and they've won 8 of those 11 games by 22 points or more. You're giving me Kirby Smart and company, and I know this is a task unlike any other they've had in any of those other 11 games. But you're giving Kirby Smart and Georgia with more than a week to prepare. And I know Bama's also had more than a week, right? Both these teams are coming off the bye. But you're giving Kirby Smart and Georgia with more than a week to get ready. And you've got a Georgia team that gets knocked out of the number 1 spot because they went on the road and had a hard-fought game against Kentucky, and Texas has flashed and looked great. I think the overreaction to that has been insane, quite frankly. I think Georgia's going to have something for Alabama. I said it over the offseason. I'm going to stick by it. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia covers. And I think Georgia wins by double digits. Again, Kirby Smart and this Georgia team with more than a week to get ready, I'm rolling with Kirby and company. I think it's a passing of the torch moment in Tuscaloosa, and I think the Dogs get the win 27-17 over the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think Glenn Schumann, Kirby Smart are going to have something dialed up for Jalen Milroe, a guy who takes care of the football. I've been told, hey, Chris, he doesn't turn the football over. He's going to turn it over on Saturday night. And Georgia's going to find a way to get the W and get a really, really tough, hard-fought win, a gutty, gritty win, and get the W at Bryant-Denny. So hopefully they welcome me back, or hopefully they welcome me at all. I'm probably making enemies. Probably making enemies in Tuscaloosa doing that, but that's just how I see it, man. That's how I see it. So we got a text from Spur Your Enthusiasm. He texts in, how about them Gamecocks? Don't forget you told me I could run the show if South Carolina beats Ole Miss. Told you worst case scenario in the first 4 games was 3-1. I look forward to calling in a few weeks. As far as your enthusiasm, I stand by that. If South Carolina beats Ole Miss, sure. We'll hand the reins over and you can give me the Monday off. So, guys, phone lines are back open. 803-500-1485. Frank, football Frank. Georgia wins this week. South Carolina doesn't lose. No kidding. They're on the bye week. Love that. Relaxing ambiance says, what do you think about Ole Miss, Kentucky? Yeah, what, Ole Miss a 17-point favorite? You know, I will say this. I'm just happy Ole Miss is finally playing a conference game. I think Kentucky's got enough when it comes to defensive personnel to test the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, I didn't say beat the Ole Miss Rebels. I said test the Ole Miss Rebels. They've got enough to do that. I'll spare you the dramatics, relaxing ambiance. Ole Miss wins this football game. And I got to be honest, I'll drop my best bets tomorrow. But until Ole Miss doesn't cover, I mean, they're a wagon. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't bet on Ole Miss. You know, I don't know why you wouldn't. I know Kentucky's got that defensive personnel, but I mean, how in the world is Kentucky going to score? You know, couldn't score against South Carolina. We obviously saw what happened against Georgia, which made sense. But, I mean, Ole Miss's defensive personnel is as good as anybody in the conference. So, I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss rolls. I think Ole Miss is excited for the start of conference play. And I think they'll dispose of Kentucky. And again, Ole Miss is a wagon. Why would you not? Why would you not bet on Ole Miss to win and to cover? Justin Langford comments, you're going to be at a great game with Bama, Georgia. Yeah, I can't wait, man. First ever Tuscaloosa experience. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better one. Justin also says, how was it gracing the sidelines at Jordan-Hare Stadium with Dave Chris? Dude, it was incredible, man. I mean, I will say, I want to take a moment, obviously, express gratitude to you guys and say thank you so much, because your love and support is why we're able to do that. I mean, it's, being on the sidelines in a place like Jordan-Hare was, you can probably see in the video I posted. I mean, I was giddy, man. I was giddy. Just because you think about the journey and you reflect, and, we launched SEC Unfiltered some 9 months or so ago, 9+ months or so ago. And, to think when we launched to now and what we're doing and the tour, and again, gracing the sidelines at a place like Jordan-Hare Stadium, man, it's just a dream kind of realized, if you will. It's a dream realized. So to everybody out there, I can't say thank you enough. I mean, I can't express enough gratitude, because without your love and support, none of this would be possible. Truly, none of it would. None of this would be possible. We would not be able to do what we're doing. I get comments from people all the time about the support for the content and the business and how everything we're doing is so great. And again, without our support system of people consuming the content, tuning in, we would not be able to do it. So I can't say thank you guys enough. It's being on the field at Jordan-Hare was a dream. Being there in person obviously was incredible. But yeah, definitely being on the field in pregame was, I looked around the stadium and was just kind of, man, I mean, just in awe, in awe. And just like when you think about the journey and where we were and where we've been and where we're going, it's a really cool feeling, and it puts things in perspective. And I can't say thank you enough. So I can't wait to get to Tuscaloosa this weekend. Bryant-Denny Stadium is going to be incredible. And man, I always say the joys in the journey. I'm enjoying every step of the way. Truly, man. I'm having, I don't care how it sounds. I'm having more fun than I've ever had, having more success than we've ever had. I'm meeting so many incredible people, doing so many incredible things. It's a blessing, man. I feel like I know I am, and I feel extremely blessed. We'll go through your questions, getting back into those. Let's see. The Sailor Man Nathan. Do you think Tennessee goes back to putting their foot on other teams' throats? Was the conservative play calling just because the nature of the game against OU, or has Josh Heupel just changed? You know, I think it was the nature of the game, right? I think if you get to a place where you feel like you're controlling the football game, you feel really, really good about what your defense is doing. Like, you don't have to take those shots. You don't have to put, you don't have to put the football in harm's way, right? You can just kind of control the game, if you will. So, I respect it. I understand why you do that. You kind of slow the game down a little bit. You protect the football, protect your guys, and I think that I'm not worried about Tennessee at all. Trust me. I think here's the exciting thing, Sailor Man, about Tennessee. They can beat you in a track meet. Like, if they need to go score 60, they can go score 60. If they want to bludgeon you and win 25-15 or whatever the final score was, they can do it. They can do it. So the best teams in the country are the teams that can win the most amount of ways. That's a characteristic of all of them. UT boy chiming in. Hook 'em. What's going on? Hook 'em indeed. Chris Cobb, when will you come to Kyle Field? So that trip, I'm thinking like late October. Late October. It will be happening though, Chris. The trip to College Station will be happening. It will be happening. So UT boy, OU, do not show up to the Red River rivalry. I'm serious. Woodshed. That one though, UT boy, you know as well as I do, that one is so interesting because you never know what's going to happen in that game. Never know. You never know. Chris Cobb, agree with your comments. Thanks for the talk about my Aggies. Will view in the take of the A&M Arkansas game. That drops today, Chris. That drops today. So it'll drop this afternoon, actually. So I appreciate you tuning in, Chris. It's been great. The love we've been getting from the Texas A&M folks have been awesome. Love the A&M folks. Chinook says, Harold Perkins out. Is that a big blow? Yeah. I mean, how can you say it's not? How can you say it's not? I mean, it's your best player on defense, man. An All-American type player. So, yeah, it's a significant blow. You got South Alabama this weekend, which we just previewed that one as well. That'll drop later today. You've got South Alabama, who's actually really good on offense. Really, really good offensively. So it'll be a test. I do think it'll be a test. But who steps up in his absence? It's going to be tough. It's absolutely a significant blow for that defense. Kalen Dempsey, what do you think about Hunter jumping to the top of the Heisman race, and who are your picks at this point to get to New York? I've got Dart, Cam Ward, and either Nico or Hunter. You're talking about Travis Hunter, correct? I believe you are. I think Jackson Dart absolutely makes it. I think Cam Ward's a good pick. There's so much that can change, though, Kalen, as the season goes. There's so much that can change. Those are good picks, though. I don't think Nico. I don't think Nico. I don't think this year, Nico. I don't think this year, Nico. Justin Langford, you're going to be at the top of the line game type of feel on Saturday. We'll have a lot of eyes on that, definitely. Yeah, Justin, everybody will be watching this game. Everybody. Paul Adam Purser, Chris, how are you? I got a couple more Apache buddies that want to kick it at Willie B if you're down. Well, Paul, I got to be transparent with you. I will not be back at Willie B this season because the SEC Unfiltered Tour, we're trying to get to as many different venues and make as many different stops as we possibly can. And so what that means is once we visit a stadium, we're not going back to that one this year. So my Williams-Brice Stadium, my Columbia trip was the LSU game. And so that will be the final trip because, again, we got other games to get to. We got other stadiums to get to. So we'll have to try to figure it out at some point, but it will not be this year. It will not be this year. So Chris Cobb, great show. Keep it rolling, sir. Thank you so much. Chris, again, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get down to College Station. Just got a text here. Not sure who it's from, but they say, what do you think about the Alabama and the Georgia game? I mentioned earlier, I got Georgia winning this football game. Again, the stat that jumps out, I'm going to repeat myself yet again, but the stat that jumps out, Georgia, since 2021, with more than a week to get ready for a game, they've played 11 of those types of games. They are 11-0 in those contests, and they've won 8 of the 11 by 22 points or more. Do I think Georgia wins this game by 22? No, but I do think they win it by double digits. This is the game that's been circled. Kirby Smart and company are pissed off. They get bumped out of the number 1 spot for what? Winning on the road. Nobody loves that more than Kirby. I think you go into this game, there's a lot of great matchups. I think Georgia's got that late punch to pull away, 27-17. I've got the Dogs taking down the Crimson Tide. It is a passing of the torch moment in Tuscaloosa. Georgia is the new standard in college football, and I think they get the job done. Kirby Smart and company make a statement on Saturday night. So I feel good about it. I mean, dude, I'll tell you this. I get excited for every preview we do, but that preview, if you go watch it, I was ready to run through a brick wall. The only thing I'll say, and it pissed me off this morning, and I apologize to everybody out there that for whatever reason, my freaking mic was not connected, and so the sound quality is not typically what you get from me, but I promise you guys, it doesn't take away from the game preview, and my guys Dave Shoemate and Cole Thompson were awesome as well. So definitely check that out. That's going to be one of the more fun ones we obviously do the entire year because, again, there's some games you got to find certain angles, right? Like what are the things that excite us in this game or that game? Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, at Bryant-Denny, college game day on site. Like if you can't get pumped for that, you just don't have a pulse. You straight up don't have a pulse if you can't get excited for that one. So let's see. Jason Humphreys chiming in from Florence, Alabama. I like that. Maybe y'all give us your destination, your location from where you're chiming in. Florence, Alabama. Who do you think has the best shot of showing up in Atlanta undefeated? Jason, this is a great question. Who's got the best shot of showing up in Atlanta undefeated? Jason, I think it's Texas. And I think a large reason for that, I think the schedule is conducive to that. I think that matters. Like, dude, even if Georgia beats Alabama, their schedule is so brutal, right? You still got to play Ole Miss. You still got to play Tennessee. You still got to play Texas. I think the odds of Georgia going undefeated are far less than Texas going undefeated. So I'd go Texas. I think Texas is the team that if there's going to be an SEC team that goes undefeated, as crazy as it sounds, because it's like first year in the SEC, are you going to get humbled? I think Texas has got that team, man. I think Texas has got that team. They absolutely could go undefeated. I mean, guys, I had them going 11-1, and their one loss being to Texas A&M in College Station. So, and that's a very winnable game, obviously, right? That's a very winnable game. So, I think Texas absolutely could finish this season undefeated. I do. Texter chimes in right now. What are you thinking on the Georgia and Texas game in October? Also, this is Levi Bass. Levi, thank you, sir, for letting us know. I want to give you credit, obviously, for the text and for the question. What do I think about that game? Well, it's going to be an epic showdown, right? Just like this Bama-Georgia game is. It's one of those games of the year that we're looking forward to. I gave Texas the nod in that game in the preseason. I gave Texas the nod. I mean, things can change, right? Right now, I'd probably stick with that and give Texas the nod in that game. I think that game being in Austin is a big-time difference maker. And I think here's the thing. You have to wait till week of game to talk about that game because what's the quarterback situation look like? Is Quinn Ewers back playing well? Is it more Arch Manning? Are they splitting time? Like, what's the status of Georgia and their injuries? I mean, Tate Ratledge, is he going to be back for that game? Probably not, but maybe. Are Warren Brinson and Michael Williams and those guys healthy on the defensive front? That's a key piece to this. That's absolutely a key piece to this. So it's hard to pick that one right now, but I had Texas beating Georgia in the preseason. We'll see if that sticks. Spur Your Enthusiasm says, give Cole Thompson a call-in show. Cole would do really well. just because I want to give the folks a laugh. When I was covering one team, which was South Carolina, obviously those that don't know my previous venture, these were the type of things, guys, we had to talk about because we obviously had to have content. South Carolina's backup quarterback competition. Davis Bevel with a nice drive against Akron. Who should be the backup quarterback? Guys, I have no idea. I got to be transparent. I didn't watch a single snap from South Carolina and Akron. Saw highlights, but didn't watch a single snap. I'll just listen. Don't shoot the messenger, Joel. I will tell you this. I was told by people that Davis Bevel is not a good quarterback. So take it for what it's worth. People in Oklahoma, they were like, he is not good. I'm not meaning to slam the kid. I'm telling you what I was told. So, South Carolina season has no chance for success if Lenoris Sellers does not come back healthy. Because I ain't buying what Robbie Ashford did against Akron. Like, it's Akron. It's Akron. Good job. Did what you're supposed to do, but they got to get Lenoris Sellers back in the fold. Let's jump back to the text line. Levi Bass, you think Ole Miss has enough to make it to the SEC championship or even getting into for college ball playoff championship? I do think Ole Miss has enough, yes. Yeah. I am a believer in Ole Miss. Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah, Ole Miss is loaded. I mean, they are loaded. Loaded. So I'm really curious to finally see them against SEC competition. But, I think they should be able to handle Kentucky. I do. And I'm probably going to bet on Ole Miss to cover, guys, because until they don't, why wouldn't you? Ole Miss is going to have to show me that they're not worth that bet, essentially. They're going to have to show me they're not worth that bet. Paul Garner, life is good on, or great, he says. Not good, it's great. Life is great on old Rocky Top. Paul, you think about that, man. I was talking about that this morning with somebody. I mean, I've said this before, and I don't know why people balk at this and freak out. I think Tennessee's got the best athletic department in the country. I mean, think about it. And it goes even beyond on-field success. But on-field, you just won the national title in baseball. Football-wise, you're top 5 in the country, and you could win a national championship on the gridiron. Basketball with Rick Barnes, you're going to be there. Is Tennessee the favorite to win the title? Not necessarily, but they're going to be in the dance. High-level elite program that is going to be right there competing at the top of the SEC. Could make a run. Not saying they couldn't. Could make a run to a national title. And then you got Danny White, who's spearheading all of this, who I think there are few, if any, out there that are as on point and even ahead of the times with NIL, with the changing landscape of college athletics than what Danny White and Tennessee are doing. When it comes to NIL, when it comes to the way they're attacking that, putting logos on the field, with the way they're renovating around Neyland Stadium and the different projects they're doing. Like, Tennessee, to me, the best athletic department in the country right now, which really, really speaks to what Danny White and company have done. Because, guys, 5 years ago, Tennessee was a mess. And now, in my opinion, they're the best athletics department in the country. You're only as good as your leadership. People miss that. You're only as good as your leadership. Tennessee changed because they changed their leadership, and they got one of the best leaders in the country in their AD in Danny White. So listen, it's great times on Rocky Top. You got the right people in charge, the right people in place. And I will say this, Tennessee fans deserve it. Tennessee fans deserve it. Tennessee fans paid their dues. Paul Garner, we are strong. No damn doubt about it. Tennessee fans paid their dues. Truly. I mean, think about how long the football product was just so bad. So bad. Paul Garner, that orange money is flowing up there like the Tennessee River, no doubt. Hey, well, here's the thing, though, Paul. Again, when you got the right people in charge, you start putting winners on the field, people are more than happy to invest. Heck, the talent fee thing they're doing, all the Tennessee folks I saw on social media, I'm sure there's some that don't like it, right? Obviously. All the Tennessee people I saw on social media, they say, hey, well worth it. It's well worth it. Why not? We're more than happy to invest. More than happy. So, you give people hope by putting the right people in position, putting the right people in place. They'll invest, man. They'll invest. They'll absolutely invest. You're seeing that at Tennessee. Guys, 803-500, 1485. That's 803-500, 1485. I will tell you this, guys. This call-in show, this Monday Power Hour, definitely one of my favorite segments of the week. Without a doubt. One of my favorite segments of the week. Because I'd love we do a lot of pre-planned content, very, not scripted, but structured content, right? With previews we do and analysis and segments. But it's fun to have this kind of, just wide open, random. I love the random content. Random content is beautiful, man. Some of the best content is the content that's just totally random. That's what we get here. So I appreciate y'all, man. We got over 275 folks tuned in live to this. Thank you all so much. Again, if you'd like to call in, 803-500-1485. That's 803-500-1485 here on this Monday, September the 23rd, week 4 edition of the Monday Power Hour. Joel says, Ole Miss wide receiver core best in the SEC. That's a good question. I want to see him against better competition, but I think there's certainly an argument, Joel, to be had. Best in the SEC. There's an argument to be had there, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think absolutely there is. I mean, here's the thing. People just glossed over it because of he did not play last year. But guys, Ole Miss has Trey Harris, who you could argue is the best receiver in the SEC. And then they've got Juice Wells, who people were arguing going into last year was the best receiver in the SEC. I mean, maybe you put Mizzou's receivers up there, but I mean, they've got what I would probably argue is the best receiver in the conference in Luther Burden. But if you're giving me the 1-2 duo of Luther and Theo Weiss or Trey Harris and Juice Wells, I'm probably going Harris and Juice Wells, man. Those guys are both number 1 wide receivers. So I think it's fair. To your point, I think it's fair. Paul, yeah, the Vols receiver core is not a slouch. You were correct. What Dante Thornton has done has been wildly impressive and really, really inspiring. Brew McCoy, Squirrel White. Yeah, those guys are legit. No, they got an argument for sure. They've absolutely got an argument. No doubt. No doubt. Austin, I did not see the PFF quarterback ratings. I did not see that. No. Gage, what's up? Gage Sheets in the house. Does a great job with our friend Ghost of Texas Football. Check out that show. It's a lot of fun. Really good stuff. Let's see. Justin Langford, who does South Carolina go after as the new AD? I don't think it's going to be Brad Edwards. I do not. You've got to go get a guy who is business-oriented, who can manage the whole NIL side of things. That the AD position, guys, has never been more like being the general manager or the owner of an NFL franchise. Bottom line. It's never been more similar to that. You got to go get a guy who understands that. It's not just about, making schedules and shaking hands and no. You got to be a businessman. You got to be able to handle that side of it. You have to. So, Cody Larmer, Ole Miss or Texas, best pick for receiver. Texas has got some damn good ones. Talk about a team that can beat you in a track meet. Texas is certainly one of those teams. Can beat you in a track meet, man. Can absolutely beat you in a track meet. Yep. Can beat you in a multitude of ways. We saw it against Michigan. Joel Burris, need to go after those Tennessee guys to find one. They are doing it right. Yeah, they are. Like I said, man, I think it's the best. I think it's the best athletics department in the country right now. And it's funny. I actually had Texas fans balk at that when I said that a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. And I mean, just dude, look at what's happening on the field. And I think the way they're doing things in NIL too speaks for itself. Guys, we have hit 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Can't say thank you enough. Those that called in, those that chimed in. These Monday Power Hours, like I mentioned, are an absolute blast. And I appreciate each and every single one of you for your love, for your support, and for you guys being part of this show every single Monday. Again, guys, stay tuned to all of our content. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get those. We're all across all social media platforms, of course, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we will do it again next week.